We got two clips of Matt Taibbi. This one, one is funny. One is.
Hold on one sec, though. Do we have that downloaded? Because I just saw it got deleted.
The Bartiromo one?
I don't know.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have it.
Mm-hmm. Number 6.
Yes, I have it.
Okay, cool. Great.
Here is Matt Taibbi, and he fresh off of his testimony at the Republican, what do they call it? The weaponization of government against conservatives committee hearing, where he was testifying to the fact that the U.S. government, ranging from the president of the United States, although he didn't quite mention it about Trump too much until
it's just a footnote.
The footnote. I mean, he didn't really care that much about it because it was about Christy Teigen. And the FBI and then Angus King had contacted Twitter to get them to pull down and different tweets, some of which were about COVID misinformation, others which were deemed to be, I guess, by these various senators to be too pro-Russia or whatever it is. Should note that when the Patriot Act was passed, the FBI could go to librarians and find out who was accessing different library books, and the librarians were not allowed to tell. If the FBI went to, or the CIA or the NSA went to wireless companies to get their records, they were not allowed to tell. As far as I know, Twitter could have said publicly, this or that is happening. And the reason why they didn't want to do that, of course, is because they're really in this fight to try and not have regulation. There should be regulation on these outlets, but that's lost. All this is about is the idea that I guess only private interests, moneyed interests, can contact Twitter, like big companies, and say, hey, pull that down, which they do all the time. And we should also note that the government always, very often, you'll hear the White House calls like MSNBC. We don't want Ed Schultz saying bad things about the administration. There's always this negotiation that takes place. I'm not condoning it, but reporters know this. And also, Coca-Cola. We don't like your report on whatever it is. So this is a problem with our society, without a doubt. But according to Taibbi, apparently, the parties have really switched. He's not, his perspective on things hasn't switched at all. That, I don't know, people may find this to be like hyperbole, but that the Democrats are, completely in favor of like the worst of policies, and Republicans and conservatives, like, I don't know, like even like people like Maria Bartiromo has changed and are on the side of good. Oh, wait, is that too much hyperbole or not? Go ahead.
Matt, how do you feel about all of this? Because I know before you started, discovering all of this really bad behavior, you identified as a Democrat, and now you've got all of your friends, quote unquote, in the media attacking you for exposing this.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I was raised a traditional ACLU liberal. I believed in free speech my whole life. That was one of the things that attracted me, frankly, to the Democratic Party when I was a kid, was the idea that we were the party that believed in letting everybody have a say, and we'll just make a better argument, and that's how this system works. But apparently something very dramatic has changed in politics in America, and there's been a shift. There's no question about it anymore, that now the parties have had a complete reversal on how they view these issues.
Yeah, it's unclear what the issues are, though. I mean, it's unclear. I don't know if the Democratic Party has always been an absolutist First Amendment party. I don't think so. That's not been the case, and I don't care about defending the Democratic Party. And the idea, though, that the Republican Party has switched on these issues and cares about free speech, I mean, it's just absurd. Absolutely absurd. I mean, the last Republican president literally had a group of federal goons, clear clear protests violently so that he could walk and do a camera op.
Right now, the Republican governor of Florida is banning books regularly.
Banning books, installing right-wing operatives at colleges to change the curriculum. I mean, the idea that there's been some type of switch, it's quite possible that there are some Democrats who are not as concerned about the FBI telling, Twitter to pull down the anti-vax stuff or whatever it is. But the idea that the Republican Party has, not become even more virulently authoritarian, they are preventing parents in 20 states around the country from providing medical care for their kids.
It's just crazy to me. It's very interesting that Taibbi is, he's really upset about Twitter's content moderation and the fact that they went back and forth with the Biden campaign about nude photos taken from Biden's son's laptop when he was going through a rough time. And at the same time, the Republicans are holding hearings about TikTok right now. How maybe we should ban this social media app in the United States because China has ownership of part of TikTok. Now, you can have a criticism of that ownership, sure. I think it would be consistent with the criticism about the United States' incestuous relationship with companies like Meta and Google and how a lot of our data gets funneled to the government, and that's bipartisan. But I don't understand why the right is so inconsistent about social media apps being cracked down on by the government when it comes to TikTok versus Twitter. Because right now, there's a bipartisan push to ban a major information platform, TikTok, altogether. And that's not being called censorious at all. It's just the very, ridiculous content moderation policies where executives at Twitter made judgment calls about what they can and cannot have on their platform, which also included, by the way, adjusting their policy to accommodate Donald Trump at the time, who was openly violating their terms of service, and libs of TikTok, a right-wing hate account, to ensure that they could stay on their platform, and actually biasing it for conservatives because they were violating the TOS and they let them stay on it. Like, I just don't understand the discrepancy there, but...
Well, that's because you haven't read his Twitter thread.
Oh, I have, unfortunately. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it.
Now, meanwhile, I mentioned earlier that in that last clip that Taibbi was testifying in front of the Republican government weaponized against conservatives committee that some people tried to call a new church committee. And apparently he has informed its chairman, Jim Jordan, the former wrestling coach who refused to respond to his students telling him that they were being molested by a doctor, I think it was, that they brought in on the wrestling team. Refused to do anything about that. That Jim Jordan has been a lot more attentive to Taibbi's complaints in this situation, which is apparently Taibbi was visited by an IRS agent on the day, I think, or at least, within a day or two before he wasn't at home. The IRS agent left a message about apparently an ongoing problem that they've had with the filing of his taxes. This dates back from both 2018 and 2021. Apparently in 2021, Taibbi found out that the filing of his taxes didn't go through or something. There was a digital receipt problem. This is also one of the reasons why you want to increase the funding for the IRS. Much of that money is going towards actually making it easier, more efficient in terms of filing your taxes. They were horribly understaffed. But nevertheless, this is not a situation where Taibbi is actually being threatened with any type of audit or anything like that. It sounds like they want to make sure that the filing went through so that they can pay him what he's owed in terms of refunds. But he informed Jim Jordan of that. And then really surprisingly, the Republicans are spinning it into something as if it's like some type of witness intimidation. Taibbi, who knows more about the situation, apparently is not talking about it now. just wanted to, but he felt like he should inform the head of the committee. Play this. Oh, I should say this is, again, his buddy Maria Bartiromo interviewing Senator Bill Hagerty, Republican from the hateful state of Tennessee.
And now, Senator, we understand that the IRS sent an IRS agent to the home of Matt Taibbi, independent journalist, on the very day that he was testifying in front of Congress. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan wrote an explosive letter to the IRS. He wants answers as to why agents conducted this unannounced visit of a journalist's home, Matt Taibbi, on the day he was testifying on the Twitter files. Jordan writes this: in light of the hostile reaction to Mr. Taibbi's reporting among left-wing activists, the IRS actions could be interpreted as an attempt to intimidate a witness before Congress. Senator, is that what the IRS was doing, trying to intimidate Matt Taibbi?
Maria, I think that every piece of evidence points exactly in that direction. This is about the weaponization of the IRS to affect and basically achieve the goals of a left-wing group that are running the government right now. On 4 separate occasions, I've directly questioned Secretary Yellen about the leak of information, of private taxpayer information, to ProPublica. ProPublica continues to leak this into the public domain. Secretary Yellen every time is averted. He basically has no answer for me. I think that Grover Norquist is correct. They do know. They're not sharing it with us. And again, this is the weaponization of the IRS. When we see what happened to Matt Taibbi on the day that he is to testify about the weaponization of government, this is just unconscionable. It's got to come to an end.
So, I mean, what are you going to do about it? This weaponization subcommittee is able to get witnesses in to talk with them, but when you've got an IRS agent coming to your home, that's a scary thing for a citizen. Have you ever before seen an IRS agent show up at someone's home?
Maria, this seems highly irregular. They could have sent a letter. They could have had someone make a phone call. They could have reached out to Matt Taibbi's, CPA to have dealt with this. Instead, to send an agent to his home, again, on the very day that he's to testify, this reeks of intimidation. And again, we've got to bring this to an end. I think that the hearings are going to bring a lot of clarity to this, a lot of visibility that's needed. Again, I'm going to continue to put pressure through the Appropriations Committee on the Treasury to get to the bottom of this, even if it requires withholding their funding.
Whoa.
All right,
While we're criticizing journalism, which I feel like is so much of the context surrounding Taibbi, why are a lot of outlets running with what Jim Jordan says without following up? Like, I don't, this could have happened. Well,
Taibbi has, on Twitter said that he did inform Jim Jordan about it. He says he's not going to speak about what is about, although I've seen in other areas where I think he said it was a pre-existing issue that the IRS contacted him in 2021 about, well before this. He had his big change about the Democratic Party, according to him, and that it's not an audit. Not questioning it's just a question of like a filing issue they had. Now, it is weird that a IRS agent would stop by and leave a note. That's very strange.
Yes.
And not terribly appropriate, it seems to me, unless it turns out like there's some other element to the story that would justify it. But I don't know what that could be other than like, hey, it's me from high school. Remember? Incidentally, I'm working on your case, which I doubt that was the situation. But
yeah, if that's the truth, I mean, the timing is a little suspect and should be looked into. I just feel it's quite convenient for Republicans too, given their anti-IRS agenda. But, yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.